Guess what, you guys? We're back with another conversation. These conversations are adding up really quickly. I'm having like 4 to 6 of them a day. And so my 50 conversations are starting to be like unbelievable. The only downside is if I don't get them out quickly, which I've been able to do so far, I get lost in this line of people that I don't remember what they said. Then I have to watch the video, then I have to go back and I don't want to do that. So I'm trying to get them out really quickly. Um, and it's been really beautiful. Like what I love about what's happening is the people I didn't even know existed 18 seconds before I started talking to them. I'm walking away feeling like they could be my friends. There's always something, even with the people. I had one guy that said, well, I'm going to be very different. I'm not going to be what you normally think. And I said, that's okay. Come on. We'll see. Like I love the fact that you're going to be different. And we just had a great conversation. So this is really a chance for the people that come on the show to get to say what they actually believe and to do it to somebody who really gives a darn. Like, I want to know what you believe. I want to know what you think. I want to know why you think what you think. I'm interested in all those things because I think that's what makes our world interesting. So that's 50 conversations. This is a new stranger. I never know who I'm going to get when I come in. I never have any idea what's going to happen. And what's amazing is I have Jachym here. And I don't even know if I'm saying his name properly. I certainly don't want to take a stab of his last name. So Jachym, I'm going to invite you to 50 Conversations. I want to thank you for being courageous enough to be here. I want you to tell us, if you don't mind, your name, who you are, and what's important to you. Welcome.
Thank you for doing this and giving the platform to strangers. I'm Jachym Jerie. I'm a coach. I focus on marriages or committed relationships and helping people create the relationship of their dreams. Because I know I'm myself, this is actually possible. I myself and my wife have transformed our own relationship and are living a relationship that is deeply satisfying and fulfilling. And just as a kind of a fun fact, I used to live in Zurich, and I once had a similar idea to yours. It was a little bit different, but I basically was like, people are not listening to each other. And so I made a little cardboard and I wrote on it, I will listen to you and I won't interrupt you, and I'll just be there. And I went to the lake, and I stood there with a cardboard, and I was basically curious, is someone going to approach me and actually going to talk to me? And a few people did. A lot of people thought it was a good idea and laughed and all of that, and some people took the opportunity. So we are kindred spirits in some way in this regard.
So I love within 30 seconds of having a conversation with somebody, we already find some place that we are in complete resonance with each other. We're doing something we didn't do, and we've never spoke before, right? I mean, there's nothing. Yeah. You answered a post that I put on a Facebook page, and here you are. And what I love is given the opportunity to see similarities. We're not that different from each other. And it depends where we might be different in a lot of areas, but there's always turns out to be something. So Jachym, what makes you happy?
What makes me happy? Well, it sounds like a simple question, but it's a very deep question for me, because I don't believe anymore that happiness is something that is found necessarily in circumstances. Circumstances can help. Like, it's good if you have circumstances that are beneficial to you, that you're thriving in, where you feel like you can express yourself fully and you can give your gifts, and it's a good match. I mean, it's obviously that it's very helpful. However, there's a different kind of happiness, and maybe that's the wrong word. I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's more joyful, and there's something that's always present in each moment, and that presence, that awareness, whatever you want to call it, basically the thing that's experiencing every moment, It's always here, even if you're sad or angry or whatever. It's all there's something always in this moment here, and so the recognition or the resting within that, it's more a recognition that that's who you actually are. That the storyline of Jachym is something that changes and gets accumulated and sometimes forgotten some things as well. I don't have the best memory. Um, that is not really where the happiness lies. It is that presence that's always here, and that in essence is accepting everything. And there's a profound stillness, and I would call it peace, happiness, joy. And so I guess that's probably the best answer I have to that question.
I love that answer. I love that answer because I would often talk about when I had my coaching company a while ago, I
Mm,
had the logo that I used was a wheel,
mm,
and at the center of the wheel was the hub. And then there's spokes that come off that hub, and we think the spokes push the rim out, but in reality, they attach to the rim and pull it into the hub because the strength of the wheel is in the hub,
right.
and the rim is just there. And so many people live on the rim,
Mm,
and they think their happiness comes in being on the rim and experiencing the sensations, but they get tossed around all the time. The faster they go, the more they get tossed.
yeah.
So many people define themselves by their spokes.
Yeah.
And they say, this is who I am. I'm a dad. I'm a business person. I do this. I'm a spiritual teacher. I'm a coach. I'm whatever I am. And yet, when you come to the hub, that doesn't change much. It doesn't change much by who we are or things that happen outside of it. Even when we're going fast, it shifts very, very little. It's a very sustainable place to be in a
Mm,
fast-paced world. So I completely agree with what you're saying, and I love it. Another simple question that is actually not so simple. We make it simple because we answer it very quickly. The question is, how are you? And so
mm,
often we say, fine, great. And we just, and we're on to the next thing because nobody really cares about how we're doing.
right.
But I don't know, you're in Malaysia now, is what you said.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what the effect of the world is in Malaysia, but over here in America, we're going through, we had 2 years ago, we had, or 2.5 years, 3 years ago, we had the Me Too movement,
Right.
which really asked men to look at the way they deal with women and honestly asked women to look at the way they deal with men as well.
Mm,
I don't know that the second part happened as much as the first part, but definitely men started to reevaluate how they dealt with women.
mm,
Then we had COVID-19 came, which made Me Too look like, it put it into the background because suddenly the whole world was on pause.
right.
And then we have race protests where black people said, we, we don't want to do this anymore.
Mm,
We don't want to be denied our right to be human beings like the white people. And they started to march, and most of the marches were peaceful. And then agitators and looters came, and people wanted to define the protesters as agitators and looters, but they there was a separate bunch of people that were using the protests to loot and agitate.
right.
How are you doing in all that?
Well, I am to a large degree off any news channel. So I don't listen to news. The news bits and pieces I get are basically from Facebook when someone posts something.
Yeah,
And so I'm aware of course, COVID-19. I'm aware of the racial protests in America. And I haven't found much use in participating in those debates because they are extremely charged from both sides. And I don't see what I'm contributing to it over, doing some artificial debate online or reading it and being upset or something like that. So I'm very practical. I'm like, let me do what I can. And what I can do in this moment is share who I am, my presence, my gifts on this podcast or on this video. And when I have a client, that's where my focus goes. When I'm with my wife, I can be the best husband I can be. So that's for me, it's practical, and this is what you can actually influence, and that has an impact on the world in ways that we don't actually know. And I'm actually really well, even with the COVID-19. It interrupted our travel plans and all of that. I'm really well. For a long time when I was a teenager, you could have asked me this question. I would have said I'm not good, because I lost my father when I was 6 years old to
Wow.
suicide, and that had a huge impact on me. And I was very unhappy, and I was emotionally disconnected from myself. And of course, that spilled into my teenage years, and I was very unhappy with society.
Yeah.
For me, I was like, what are we doing? If it looked to me then, I draw this in my mind, had this caricature of society where like you you get into a job you don't like, you're waiting for the weekend so that you can relax, and then you're going to dread Monday again. You're going to work for your vacation. You're going to get kids, and maybe have a partner you don't even like. And it was like all this kind of a very skewed view, because it's not necessarily that this has to be the way that you are in this society. But I was like, and I was asking very young, what's the meaning of life? And the way people answered it was very dissatisfactory for me. Um, and I was like, the adults don't even know what they're doing, and we're going into a direction I'm forced to integrate into society I don't really want to be integrated in. And so I was quite unhappy in those times. But nowadays I'm feeling really good. That's
Fabulous.
I feel very at peace with myself, and I feel very uh, happy, really.
So, if you can, what was the pivot point that allowed you to change perspectives? Because,
Yeah, so for me, that they were different moments. I was in America as well. Actually, after high school, I went to train martial arts for 2.5 years in a retreat center in close to Eureka, and that was a way of escaping. I realized later. So I was trying to run away from me, but I was still miserable
right,
because you're taking yourself with you. It's kind of
right,
funny, you know.
right.
You can
Of
shift
course.
continents, but you're still there, you know.
Yeah. If you can find
Uh,
a way to change continents and not take yourself with you, you might be a rich man. There are a lot of people that would probably want to do that, but I don't see a
so
way to do it.
yeah, exactly. So it did help me a lot, because meditation and martial arts and all of that can really help, because it's a lot of issues are in was in my neurotic mind. And when I came back, I started to do hypnosis. So that was my way of us seeing, oh, I can integrate into society. I can create my own little space basically and do something I love. And that is when the change really started to happen, where I was like, okay, I can only take my client as far as I've gone. And so that's when I started hiring coaches or go see a hypnotist myself. And one of they probably two major pivots. One of them is definitely related to my dad. I went to see a lady in the UK. She's only reachable through a phone, and she does something called a cleanse. So you go there for 7 days. It's just you and her, and you do a cleanse. So you do detox. You have an enema every twice a day and all that. You see some other healing practitioners and things like that. And I went to see her 4 times by now. And on the second time, I was lying on the massage table somewhere. I mean, it's funny because you're literally like somewhere nowhere in England, like in this house with 10 dogs, with this lady who has very special views of the world, but it's extremely effective and powerful at what she does.
Wow.
And she started crying. She's like, "That's your pain," and that's, I don't know what happened in this moment, but something just shifted, and I burst out in tears, and I was like, I just didn't want to lose him.
Wow.
It was this moment
Of
of
course.
release. I had this pent up energy and this negativity in me, and of course some of it shifted through the first cleanse, but this was kind of a pivotal moment
Yes.
where I was able to release and then actually start to forgive.
Wow.
And the topic of forgiveness is interesting because I don't believe it's properly understood. It's a thing of like I forgive or I forget. Almost they almost interlinked for some people, and that's not the case at all for me. It was an understanding, but it wasn't understanding from my head. It was an understanding from my heart.
Beautiful.
Right? It's an understanding from my being, and so when the emotions were released, that is when it started integrating. And I think even on the third cleanse, I really started understanding my father much more, in what dark place he probably was. And then the forgiveness was spontaneous. It wasn't actually something I had to make myself to So that was one of the pivotal moments.
Love it.
And the second pivotal moment was when I was doing, I realized, okay, so I can't escape myself. And I realized at some point, how come I can't be with myself? Like it, it's the one thing that's always here. It's me. So how come I can't how come I cannot be with myself? So what I did is and it was inspired by a friend. They call purposeless days. I started to do days that I don't have a phone, I don't have a laptop, I don't have a book, and I don't have a plan. Okay, I'm going off, and I'm just going to see what's going to happen. What's going to happen? That was the question. What's going to happen when I don't distract myself?
Mm.
What's going to happen? And I wasn't a fan of meditation, so I didn't meditate or anything like that. It was literally just structural. So just see, you dance a bit, you sing a bit, whatever, you go for a walk, but you just present with yourself. And what I realized is that I get miserable and then I get well.
Mm.
And I thought, well, this is really strange. How come I'm getting well? Like, how come I'm dropping into this profound peace without me doing anything?
Mm.
And at that point, I was taking a break from my hypnosis practice because that was the intuition I had, is just focus on yourself. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. This means the conclusion I came to, this means it's always here. Like, the peace is always here. And what I saw is the mind creates the problem and then says it hasn't done it. Like, it's like, you got a problem, let's go fix it. Right. So it's like a dog chasing its tail,
Yeah.
literally,
Yeah.
you know? And what I realize is, when you see through the illusion, when you see like, oh, wow, that's not real. That's just a thought construct. Because literally I don't know, walking or in bed or dancing or whatever it is I'm doing, right? I'm okay. There's no tiger getting me. There's nothing
Right.
wrong. Like I'm literally okay. So it is complete mind construct in this very moment, even if they
Wow.
are problems that you have to face later on, whatever. In this moment, it's a mind construct because there's nothing there. And so when you see through it, you fall back into peace.
Love it. Love it.
And that was transformative. That was changed my direction from hypnosis to more coaching, because I was like, if more people can see this, it will change the world.
Love it. Love it. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing so intimately a story so vulnerably with an imperfect stranger like myself. It's what I always want to ask the listener to see when you listen to episode after episode, as you're doing. So many people of you are commenting how many episodes you're listening to. I want you to see the level of intimacy that people get to in a very short period of time in an environment with a person they don't even know,
Mm.
and just how essential it almost feels like it is for people to just be given that space, to just be allowed to be themselves. And when allowed to be themselves, how genuinely they show up and how beautifully they show up. And I'm not saying that Jachym needs me to give him that space, because I think he does a pretty good job on his own. But still, here he is on a show being that open and vulnerable. Jachym, let's mess around a little bit. Let's go to another. Let's segue a minute. We're going to go to a lightning round. I'm just going to ask you one or the other. You can answer quickly, or you can take your time and explain. Or you can do whatever you want. However you want
All
to
right.
do it is fine. Are you a dog person or a cat person?
Dog.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Would you say you're in the box or out of the box?
Out the box.
In a world where both of these are important, I want you to choose which one you feel is more important. Do you feel it's more important to be able to speak your voice and be heard? Or do you feel it's more important to hold the space for somebody else to speak their voice and for you to listen to them?
Hold the space.
Do you believe you fit into this world, or you think you're different?
Oh, no, I fit into this world. I'm from this world.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to want to come back to that, because you're one of the few people that answered that they fit in. So I want to hear more about that. Um, do you feel like you operate from your head or from your heart?
Heart.
Fabulous. Would you say you're a leader or a follower?
Leader.
So let me caveat that a minute, okay? And again, pardon me for using American illustrations, but I'm in America, and you can say it's not relevant to me, and I don't watch the news, and I don't really care. But in America right now, we're almost in an ideological civil war with
Right.
each other.
Yeah.
We have the Republicans and the Democrats, and both of them are very steadfast in what they believe. They either support Trump or they hate Trump.
Mm,
And there seems like there is. I don't really care what side of the fence anybody's on. I
mm,
honor everybody's right to be wherever they are. But when I look at the leadership of our country, there are very few people that break from their silo, like both sides. Like whether you're Republican and you love Trump, there's some things he hasn't done that's like he's done some great things, and there's some things that he's hasn't done very well.
mhm.
But there aren't very many people that'll say, "No, this was good. I really support him in this, but he sucks here."
Right.
They don't break camp. They stand. And then
Yeah.
same with the Democrats. Democrats, they hate Trump, and so everything they do is about what he's doing wrong. But there's some things he's done really well,
Mm,
but they don't ever give the dog a bone, so to speak. Like I say, every time he turns around, he gets punched in the face or the groin, right?
right.
And he may deserve it, he may earn it, it may be his, but we don't. What my perception of a leader, and tell me if this is your perception, is they have the ability to go against the tide of what people are doing because they represent what's true and what's right. What would you say? Would you
Oh,
say,
yeah, 100%. 100%. Like that is one of the things that I believe is sorely missing is that we are scared. So especially if you go into the political arena, we are scared to lose votes. We are scared to actually stand for something because it may backfire, and so we compromise ourselves away. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to agree. I'm going to stay with the kind of line because this is the party line, and this is kind of safe. I mean, this is my interpretation.
yeah,
But ultimately, and the second answer, whether you're leader or follower, I actually second answer was neither
hmm,
for me, because for me a lot of things in leadership is that a leader is actually chosen. It's not something that you're necessarily taking. Okay.
yeah,
And so I have my way of thinking. I am an independent thinker. I do challenge people on what they are saying, in a friendly way or just in my own head. But I do make up my own mind. And I do, for example, with the website that we have and the business that we have, which focus on a relationship, we call it the exceptional relationship, because I want to tell people, look, you can have a relationship where there's no bickering, there's no blaming, there's no nagging, there's no like backstabbing or snide remarks or any of that. That's considered normal for a lot of people. Or, it's just my wife, it's an old couple, blah blah
right,
blah. No, it's not. It really isn't. You can actually make a stance and say, I'm not going to support this in my relationship. I'm not
yeah,
going to support behavior that is not empowering and not loving.
yeah,
And that's the stance that we're taking, and some people are disagreeing with that. They think, oh, well, it's natural that you have those kind of things. Yes, you can have your insecurities. Yes, you can be angry sometimes and all of that. And that I'm not saying to suppress that at all, because that's some of the pushback I sometimes get. Was, well, you're saying we should suppress it. I'm like, no, absolutely not. But when you take a stance against it, means that you're not fighting it. If it does come up, it comes up, but then you address it. You look at it, you discuss it, and you see what happened so that you can grow from it. You bring consciousness into your relationship rather than just be like, oh, well, it's just natural. I'm just going to let it happen how it is. And what you do is you're just going to repeat the same pattern. Sorry, I just went on a tangent there.
no, no, it's fabulous. I love it, and I really want to segue off of that and just ask you a question because first of all, like going back to close up the circle of the leadership of at least our country, I don't know about other countries. I started to realize in asking these questions to people that our leaders really aren't leaders, they're followers.
Mm,
And it's one of the big absentee things that's happening in our country is we don't have leaders to follow. We have followers who are leading, who are leading, but
right.
they don't have the courage to lead, no matter
Right.
what side you're on.
Yeah.
Um, But let me follow up what you were saying, because one of the things I find in the work that I do with people is we have a propensity not to want to sit in the pain that we go through. We have,
Yes.
like, we feel pain and we want to
Yep.
get out of it as quickly as we possibly can.
Yep.
And let me ask it to you in another way. You said you want to hold the space to listen to people, and that's that you like, that you enjoy doing that. Do you believe other things besides people speak to us? Do you believe the world and the universe speak to us? Do you believe our bodies speak to us? Do you believe our businesses speak to us? Do you believe that almost inanimate objects speak to us as well as animate objects? In other words, do you believe that, um, yeah, do you believe different things speak to us? Do you believe the universe is speaking to us right now?
Um, I I believe that there is more to listen to than what we are listening to.
Okay,
So when someone is talking, you can listen to the words, but you can listen to their energy. You can listen to the music they're making. Like
totally.
there's something much, much deeper that you can listen to. And that's the same thing with yourself. You can listen to your thoughts, or you can listen more deeply what's actually happening within me. And it's a non-verbal listening. And there's a wisdom in that. And there's a almost for me, there's a guidance in that. So yes,
Yes.
absolutely you can listen to that. Whether inanimate object, I guess I could listen to an inanimate object, but I don't. That's the honest answer.
Yeah.
I usually
So
don't.
when I say inanimate object, do you feel like the universe is talking to us?
Well, the universe is not inanimate; it's alive, and we are it,
Right.
and that's the big mistake that we're making. In part of with the climate change discussion, for example, is that we're separating ourselves out from nature, and we're like, well, we are destroying nature. Yes, there is lots of things that need to be addressed. I'm not saying that's not true. However, we are nature.
Yeah.
We are an absolute product of nature. Our functionings and our operating systems that are leading to what's happening in the world are designed by nature. We are not separate from nature. It's a
Yeah.
complete, utter illusion that we are separate. And when we're separating ourselves out, we're creating a whole bunch of problems for ourselves.
So I want the listener to take a moment and pause and see what you think about what Jachym said, because you may agree with it, you may not agree with it, but I want you to think about it. And whether you're a part of nature or not a part of nature, what do you believe? Do you believe that we're all connected and it's all the same thing? And I want to ask you to go even further. So now we're a part of nature. I think I could say, well, let me not assume. Do you believe our bodies talk to us? That when we have pain in our bodies are trying to tell us something?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
And
There is the
we're
pain. The pain is a bit difficult because you can have the kind of phantom pain where you have an arm missing and you still feel pain in your arm,
okay.
right? So that pain is an interesting subject. I'm not 100% sure, but in a lot of cases, yes, pain.
Okay.
And there's other signals within your body that your body's talking to you when you eat food. I think food is probably a really, really good example. When you actually ingest food and you start listening to your body, how does this actually feel?
Yeah.
Or you're like, you get a craving and you want to eat something, and it's like, am I actually hungry? And you really listen to your body,
Yeah.
you may notice that you're not actually hungry, that
Yeah.
that is a mind created idea that you need this, but it's actually just for the mouth, for the taste. It's a
Or you
craving,
might be
it's not
bored,
very
or you
hungry.
might be lonely,
Yeah,
or you might be all sorts of things,
exactly.
right? So, with that concept intact, knowing that we're part of nature and we're part of the universe, just like we're part of our body and our body speaks to us and the universe is, what do you think the universe is trying to say to us right now?
With that question, what I connect to at the moment is what we started with, is that that joyfulness. It, there's an extremely difficult conversation in this, that you can't actually put things into words. You know, you have a full expression. Every moment is a full expression of the universe. It really is. And so we're trying to conceptualize and trying to understand it, but we can't, because you can't fit. I mean, look, you can't fit the ocean into this. You just can't. And we can't fit the universe into our mind. We can't, and we try to. And again, for me, that's another thing where I think we're creating a lot of problems, because we think, and we have the arrogance to think we understand when we actually don't. We really don't. And I think humanity could do well with a bit more humbleness and saying, you know, I don't actually know.
100%. So all that being humble, do you think we just say that the universe, we don't understand what the universe is saying to us, or do you think that the messages are so clear that there's something being said to us? I mean, look at what's going on. We have global warming. We have COVID-19. We have people protesting against the way they've been treated. All of which are parts integrations of something that seems like it's going on, and a message seems like it's wanting to be said to us. Unless
Right.
you feel like, and I understand the humility of not wanting to think we know, but if we
Right. No, it's not. It's not. So this is not a cop out in terms of like, oh, we don't know, so we can't decipher it. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that it's hard to put into words. You can still follow a guidance. Like, you can still follow your pull,
yeah,
your intuition, your inspiration. I believe that what the universe is trying to say to us is probably best found in your inspiration. You know,
okay,
where are you feeling the aliveness inside of you? Right.
love it,
When I'm talking about the business, I feel really alive. Like, as you
yeah,
could tell, like this is
yeah,
a passionate thing that is coming up. And so that is where I feel where the universe is talking to me. But I don't see it as a, like, when I look at the global events and then make an interpretation about that, that looks to me more limited, because I'm going to bring my own understanding, whatever. I believe, like, you know, like we are a cell of a body, right? And I'm the little cell on this finger. And I just need to do that one thing that this cell on this finger does. I don't need to understand the whole entire body, nor can I. I can't
love it.
understand the whole thing.
So it's so interesting to have conversations, because my second question was going to be, what is the universe saying to you? But that's your only question, because
Yes.
you're saying, I don't know what the universe is saying to us as a universe. I only know what it's saying to me, and I don't want to take even a stab at what it's saying to the rest, to us as a collective.
Yes.
And that is what you're saying. I just want to make
Yeah,
sure
that's
that's
exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
okay. Cool.
Maybe other people will be more evolved or something and they can.
Yeah,
I can't.
but it doesn't matter if they're more evolved, less evolved. It's just interesting to hear different points of view
Mm,
from different people about that, because in the conversations I've had, I haven't had that response, and it's valid. It's real,
mm,
and so why not just embrace that possibility? And there may be some people out there that haven't heard that before, or feel that, or just have somebody else that believes that with them, and that comforts them. And it's
mm,
nice to have that place.
mm. And
Um,
let me just explain a little bit more, if it can be valuable, because the way I see it is that, you know, for someone who is, I don't know, a bit skeptical about this, look, you're animated. Like, you literally can, those hands are moving. There's an energy moving through you. Where is that energy? What is it? Like, there's something moving everything, literally everything. Like, and it's beating your heart, right? Until it doesn't. But so that's why I'm like, you know, the only thing we need to do is listen to that energy here now, because, and let that come through. That's the way
okay,
I see it.
perfect. Given a moment, you've already said a lot and shared a lot with people. But if you had one moment to boil yourself down to one statement, that you now had the platform that you could talk to people and say, this is what you want to share with them, what would you share?
It's a statement actually from the Bible, even though I'm not Christian. And I haven't actually checked if it's true, the statement. But the way I remember it is be still and know that I'm God. And I don't mean that as a thing of
Right. Know that
separating
Jachym is
myself
God.
out.
Right.
Yeah, no, no, no. But there's a profound wisdom in just being a bit more still and allowing yourself to really be here with yourself and with what's happening.
As a person who's meditated every day for 45 years, I love that statement. I know that statement. For those people who are scared to be still, for those people who are scared to actually take the time to look inside and know themselves, for whatever reason that would there be anything that you would say to them right now that
Yeah,
might
it's
invite them?
absolutely normal.
Yeah,
Like I can tell you that every time at the beginning there was fear. The mind was creating it and making it bigger, and it literally is a bit like, you know, in the movie. You see this shadow, this humongous monster around the corner, and you're like, oh God, what's gonna be behind there? And the camera swings around the corner, and what you see is a tiny mouse. And
yeah,
that's been my experience that most of the time, those huge things, they are mind created illusions, and just have the courage and the faith to sit and be and see what happens. And if it gets too much, just back off. You know, there's no forcing. There's no need to force yourself into something, but a gentle guidance of yourself can be extremely helpful.
I love it. I need to remind myself that 18 seconds ago we didn't have any idea who each other were. And now we share in a conversation with two strangers coming into a room without knowing anything about each other and sharing so many things in common. And I want to thank you for taking the time to explain your point of view, to be here with us, to share what you're saying. If people can't get enough of you and want to know more about you, how's the best way for them to do that?
You can go to our website. It's called yourexceptionalrelationship.com. And
Okay.
that's where I'm sharing at the moment the most. Like I'm writing articles and things like that on it, usually twice a week. So if you're interested in the topic of relationship, that's where you can find me. And
Find you.
otherwise, my name. I don't. There's no other Jachym Jerie out there, literally. So if you see it in the show, you can just put that into Facebook, and I'm the only one who's going to have that name. So
So, will you do me a favor? Will you send me your name? Will you send me your social
yeah,
media links? Will you send me your website? And you'll also send me your headshot?
yep,
Perfect.
absolutely.
I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to walk into a room with an imperfect stranger like myself and to share this conversation.
Well, thank you for opening up this space and doing this. I think it's going to be very valuable for a lot of people to express and to listen.
It's been incredibly valuable to me, and
Hmm.
I love it. And I thank you for saying that. For those of you who are listening, thank you again for showing up for this conversation. Share it with your friends. Share it around. If you or somebody you know would like to have a conversation with a stranger, let me know. I'm going to keep it going. And I want to thank you for showing up. What I'm finding is that strangers aren't strangers as soon as we start to open up and let them and listen to them.
Hmm.
Stranger things have happened than having someone that you didn't know 5 seconds ago become someone that you feel really connected to and want to be friends with after a short conversation. So I want to invite you all to reach out to somebody. Take the time to just listen for 10 minutes, for 2 minutes, for half an hour, and just hear what another person wants to say. So many of the problems that we have in the world will vanish. I realized I couldn't on a global level solve anything, but I could on an individual level sit down with somebody and say, I may or may not agree with you, but I love you, I accept you, I honor you for the belief systems you have. I validate that that's what you believe. I acknowledge that's what you believe. And I want to thank you for sharing it with me. It's disarming when we do that,
Mhm.
because when we don't need to yell and when we're heard, we no longer need to yell and scream and tantrum and attack because we're heard. So I invite you to find a stranger and invite them to a conversation. Until next conversation, stay good, stay happy, stay safe, and don't be a stranger. Come back in. Thank you so much for showing up. Again, Jachym, thank you so much for showing up. Thank you, listeners, for showing up. We'll see you next time.